I'm just going to give you some facts, and I'm just going to start with some things to remind you where we've been and how we've gotten to this point. But on March 26th, there was a budget presented to the school board, and it included some staff raises, and it was a balanced budget. It was presented to the city manager, Richard Douglas, by the deadline of March 31st, and it's been at City Hall since then. Rebecca and I had a couple of meetings with Mr. Douglas and Mr. Bryant throughout the time from that budget got there till we got to work sessions about some money that they were concerned about. So some loss in property taxes, and I'm going to ask Rebecca to help me out, and some concerns they had down the road. So we listened and we just kept moving forward because we had a good budget and we thought we were okay. So on May 8th, Rebecca and I started attending some of the city council work sessions, and the city manager presented the budget. He proposed an 8-cent tax increase in real estate taxes from 76 to 84 cents. There was a loss to their revenues of $216,818 in public service real estate taxes due to decrease in the sales tax assessment ratio. The funds education according to the prescribed formula, 33% of the local revenues gave us an increase of $129,000. They talked about significant hits to all their departments, and Darlene, Rebecca, and I were there that evening. And there were some talks that evening about cuts. Was it going to be $129,000? Was it going to be $150,000? And we just listened. And on 5/15, the council again discussed the city manager's budget proposal. Mayor notes that the revenue sharing proposal for schools is a problem. This budget gives schools $129,000 more based on last year's audit, and the city's going to lose $216,000 in public service real estate taxes, again due to the sales assessment ratio. The city health insurance premiums increased $150,000, and the vice mayor was concerned about increase to schools. Rebecca and I attended that meeting. On 5/17, there was another meeting. I was there, Rebecca was there, Bert was able to come for a part of it. I did address the council. I had some statements I made to them. Didn't know how the school board would absorb the budget reduction. BB talked about there will be no step increases in the city budget. Mr. Baker was present, and he did note to them that the schools are the city's future for the future workforce. And we left right after that school discussion. Then on 5/22, it was a very brief meeting. The mayor reviews the budget cuts and asks of the rest of the council if they agree. They all say yes. Tamara was present with me, and so was Rebecca. And since that time, I've also, on May 15th, sent our staff just stating what the budget process had been, that we had submitted that budget to the city council, or actually to city manager Richard Douglas. He presented about a balanced city budget on May the 8th, and the finalized budget would be adopted by then in June. The General Assembly, I told the staff, continues to have work sessions, which I checked on today. They still have not made any decisions. They're meeting again tomorrow. And hopefully, I called the Department of Education Finance Office today to just ask them where we stood with state funding, and they said if the General Assembly met, we could possibly have an answer by the beginning, or the end of this week, possibly by the beginning of this school week. So we've not issued any contract or work agreements to our employees, and I let them know that. I don't know what else to say. I've asked our principals to do some creative staffing, and they did. And we've looked at creative staffing to try to counteract some of the money that may be able to help fund this $150,000 deficit. The creative staffing money that we've looked at is not enough at this point in time to make up that $150,000. So Rebecca and I will still be looking. We did get a memo today, or an email from Mr. Bryant, which is on your table, stating that they had to put the balanced budget in the newspaper so the public be aware? And were we going to be submitting any additional requests? And we're not, because we've been told $150,000 will be cut from our budget. So we also told them that we weren't sure where our state revenues were going to fall. If they came in at an increased rate from what we predicted from the original governor's budget, we would ask for appropriations from, the city council to increase that funding from the state. But the Department of Ed gave us no indication that there would be an increase or decrease from the governor's proposed budget back in December and January. Mm-hmm. So we have nothing to report tonight, except we are at a standstill about how we move forward with this $150,000 cut. If you will see in Mr. Bryant's letter email today, that they have asked, they have given us a week to come up basically with our budget proposal. They want to see our budget. Rebecca, you heard that as well. They want to see where our budget is changed. Is that what you believe from your attendance at the meetings?
I think they want to, well, all they've cut is the local appropriation. It's not up to them to cut the expense side of the budget. That's up to the school board to do that. All they can do is reduce the local appropriation.
But before they approve it, they want to see what we've put together.
Well, and that was the question I had, just what Eddie said. Do they need to see a line item that we've subtracted $150,000 from?
I think they need to see a balanced budget. I think they need to see a budget where the revenues and the expenditures are balanced.
We can do that. So, I don't have an answer. I am very concerned. I am concerned about making sure the instructional needs of our students are met. I'm also concerned about our staff and those staff members that, they sat here and heard our presentation about budget and possible salary increases. There was never any guarantee. It was just a proposal that you all passed of the 3-2 vote. But I do think we're at a point now where we have to make some serious decisions about how we can move forward and operate the school division next year fiscally responsible, and how we can do all the things that we need to do. And we have made some significant cuts to staffing over the last 2 years, this year and this past year. We've not filled any positions except necessary positions, and we have done some creative staffing. I asked the principals to be creative and not fill some positions because we were in such a tight, dire straits right now, and they have done that. Done some very fine jobs with figuring out how to staff without hiring additional staff. But there are some needs that will need to be considered as we move forward to meet the needs of our students. So I don't know what you all want to discuss tonight or how you want us to.
Well, we have several personnel items that have come up after the budget was approved.
Right.
So we can discuss those items within the personnel section.
Okay.
That would take place.
A couple of questions that I have, and I know one of them's still a question mark, but end of year coming up, assuming the city will allocate leftover funds. If we have an ADM increase that is going to be some leftover money at the end of this year.
Well, we'll need to see.
That's up to the state yet to determine that, right? Yeah.
Because in addition,
That's what I'm saying. We have some. We don't never really know what, but we have some.
Because we also had some state revenue reductions this year as well.
Right, right.
And that was in that caboose
Foster
budget.
care
So that's what I'm saying. So even though we have a number there that we should have increased, but we still have our hands tied with the state on that.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So I would hesitate to use any of those funds.
You're a little bit too soon yet to know an end of year surplus from a variety of accounts. We're probably another 3 weeks away, the end of June, before you have a good handle on that, right?
Right, and again, I would hesitate to use that money.
No, I'm not saying use the money, I'm just questioning an amount of it at this
Yes.
point, is that, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, those are two factors that are out of our control or not. It's no better than every other thing with the state.
No.
And the state, just based on what we've seen in the past, we have no idea, no matter what they're saying, because again, the raise that they yanked out from under us before, and it was the last minute, and that was a lot of money. So the state funding could be $50, $100, $150,000 difference. We have no idea
Correct.
until they do it.
You just don't know until they make that decision.
But we have
Right.
variables, though.
We do.
That we don't know yet. Insurance elections.
Oh, we know those.
Well, I mean, with any new hires.
yes.
We
New staff members.
pretty much know those.
So you have, with the attrition that we've had, and then the new employee search, we don't
That's
know
right.
that for certain what that's
That's
gonna
correct.
be. So there's a change there, could be to the plus. I think right
When
now, the way we're looking
when
out.
I budgeted those positions,
Yes,
I budgeted those at single rates, so
Right.
I budgeted them sort of bare bones.
correct. However, we've had, again, some staffing changes since the budget was approved that through attrition have changed. Therefore, there are some funds in the budget
Yes.
that are available to look at and review. I don't
And-
think that's something that we should look at.
And another thing, we're talking about a finite number of $150,000 that they've asked,
Yes.
right,
Correct.
for us to reduce. We have 3 schools. I do not think it is too far pressed for us to ask each school to tighten their belt,
That's right.
pinch those pennies for this next school year to where we can find that, could be 70 from one and 20 from another, but I don't think in this multi-million-dollar budget, it is that difficult for us to find 150,000.
I don't think so.
Even if it means, because there's 10, 20, $100, $500, that adds up. So along those line items here and there, going across them and reducing them to the point, that we know that it's not an exact number there, but we know what we've spent in the
But we
past.
spent a lot of hours reducing those line items already.
And they don't have
Well-
they won't have control of 150,000.
No, I'm not saying that they will, but
They do have some control within the,
They do.
Short of
The
getting rid of the
schools-
teacher, how are they gonna come up with $50,000?
Well, there's spending that takes
well,
place throughout
there's
the
a lot of
year.
different ways.
And, there are things that are, necessities that they have to have, but there are
Right.
some things that they have that are luxuries that they don't necessarily have to have. Now, I'm not trying to take away anything from them, because I want them to have the best.
So I'd like to see that in the budget where we have those extra monies allocated to them to spend at will.
I
I mean, to
Well,
say the school has
again-
$50,000 or $70,000 extra in their spending.
I didn't say that they did. I said what we would have to
They
do
would
would
have to.
tighten their
That's exactly.
belt. They would have to pinch those pennies.
Correct.
And when they make a decision to spend money that's allocated for something, take that less expensive route.
Yeah. And if you remember, within the compensation committee meetings, we did have that discussion, and those that represented each of the schools said they were willing to do that.
Yes.
They
did.
absolutely were willing
And
to do
I
that.
would think if you presented it to each building administrator that way, that look, some of your spending's got to be curbed because this is where we're at.
Yep.
I did mention that through staff. I have not mentioned it through the money that they're given every year, which is not a lot of money to spend in their building, but there is money that could be tightened up. But there's also some needs that we're going to have to consider filling, and those are needs that are going to require possibly an additional staff member over the course of this coming year because of numbers in our school division. And so that's where I know programs and, personnel are where you find money, but sometimes we're to the point now that I'm very, very concerned about taking much more money out of personnel and taking much more money out of programs, because some of our programs, I feel, are at the bare bones minimum right now, and I think we've got to look at the instructional needs of our students as we move forward with making these kind of decisions. I was the one that felt like it was time to move forward with those salaries. I still feel that it's important, but I'm not sure it's realistic if you want to know at this point in time that we can find that kind of money to come up with $300,000 plus to make all of those salaries happen.
Well, I say what we do is that we realign our agenda right now, and we move into our personnel. because there are specific areas that we know of that have come forward on resignations and attritions that we need to review. And if the board will so approve, and I'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session of Virginia 2.2-3711.